Hey everybody, welcome to Video Game Corner. It's me, Jason, and today I wanted to talk about the difficulty in modern gaming versus the difficulty in classic gaming. And I keep looking at the fact is games nowadays are a lot easier, and I'm always wondering, I want to ask the question is why? I think partially it's because we can control games better now. As in the old days of the NES and the Super NES and all that, part of the problem of games being harder, was that the controls didn't always work. And that kind of difficulty is just, it's the most frustrating. You guys remember who played games, back in the 80s and 90s like I did. It's very frustrating when a game doesn't do what you want it to do. But yet modern games, they do everything we want them to do. If that's what the character does, the controls are usually pretty tight. And we do get a stinker here and there that, the game developer didn't put the work in that they should have. But, think about it. I think that's one of the reasons why games are so much easier now is that they do what we want them to do. Maybe if we went back and fixed some of these older games, I bet they wouldn't be as hard as we remember them to be. And I also wonder, back then they didn't have much of a basis, comparison. You got to remember, these were the old days of gaming. This is, things were new. They were still trying to test the waters. They didn't know what was hard for a player or what was easy. They knew what was easy. But they didn't know how hard to make a game hard, how difficult to make it difficult. And the players, it seems like back then we just rose to the occasion. And now I'm wondering, you look at games now, we have games like Ninja Gaiden, which are extremely difficult, for me at least. I haven't played one in a while. I guess I should get in and play them again. Because I have the PS3, I think it's Sigma. And, that game it wasn't too hard till I got to the boss. And when I got to the boss, it was just really hard. And I think that's part of it, too. It's just like the Ninja Gaiden from the NES is said to be one of the hardest games. But yet my friend Ace Salieri, he was telling me, he says it's an easy game for him because he knows how to do it. And I think that's what it all comes down to, is memorizing patterns. And I know I use this a lot as the Souls series, and everybody talks about how hard it is, but I can breeze through Demon Souls and not need help at all. I don't need help with any boss. And because it's like I know how much to level up for each boss, and I know their patterns. And I know which weapon to use and what they're vulnerable to. And I think that's what it is that even the hardest bosses in the game, like the Man-Eater boss in Demon Souls, is so frickin' ridiculous the first time. But now I know what weapons to use, what'll wear them down. Same thing with like the Flame Lurker in the game. You use a regular weapon, you get beat up. You use a Crescent weapon, which is like a magic-based weapon, and you destroy him like he's nothing. And it is just like, it's we look at these games, but what? But then there's games that are just like so ridiculously easy. Like I like the hack and slash games like God of War and Dante's Inferno, Conan, and these games are hack and slash games, and they're button mashers, and you button mash and you do some combos and things. They're not completely a button masher. You do have to have there is some things you have to know what to do, and I look at these games and I think, why are they so easy? It's because they're probably, I know with the God of War, they're aiming towards a mainstream audience, so they want everybody to be able to play it and finish it. But that's the thing is, God of War is more popular than Souls games or Ninja Gaiden. Everybody may know, all gamers may know what these games all are, but God of War is known for being the more popular one. And same thing with with first-person shooters. I don't know how hard they really are. I know when you're playing in multiplayer against other players, it's a whole different story because you have to deal with the you don't necessarily have patterns from other players. But if you're playing single players, I don't know how hard it is, but I can't imagine it's that difficult. It's beatable. I never hear people saying, "Oh, I can't beat Call of Duty," and that's the thing. Then we look at and then like with puzzle platformers like Limbo or Trine, the Trine series, they're indie games. They're puzzle platformers. If you get stuck, you can always go to the internet. We have the internet now that we didn't have back then. Back then we had magazines, friends. It was either that, if your friend didn't know how to do it, or a magazine didn't show you, or the Nintendo hotline, if you had that. If you didn't have these things available, you had to just figure the game out for yourself. So some games like I never thought Zelda, the original Zelda, was a very good game, because you have to you have to randomly figure out where stuff is. There's no hints, there's no guide, there's nothing that indicates to look in this certain spot. You just have to randomly hit every freaking bush till you figure out it's the one you need to go down. It's the one you need. That's an indication of terrible game design, in my opinion. Now, and I know that people love the Zelda series, but this is the first Zelda. Zelda's got better as they went along because they stopped doing that stuff. And I've, had people get really mad at me and tell me, I don't know what I'm talking about. But my opinion is, and it's my opinion, that is bad game design. And the first Zelda is very badly made. But people have a special place in their heart for it. And it's just one of those things. They love the game for whatever reason. I never liked the game. I never thought it was any good. I thought the graphics for the game were terrible by the Nintendo standards. I thought the game was very badly designed. Like I said, I don't like that. I think the overview was just a cheap way of just doing the graphics. I don't like the game at all. All the enemies, most of the enemies look the same to me. It's just bad design. And I've played through the entire game, and I had to use a walkthrough to figure out where the hell to go, because I didn't have the patience to sit there and try to hit every single bush. And I know you Zelda guys, so please don't be mad at me. I mean, this is just my opinion. You guys can love the game all you want. My very first experience with Zelda was the second game, and I rented it for a weekend, and I didn't really like it too much either. But I do like it better than I liked the first game, just because it seems like they put a little bit more work into it, and they give you better hints, even though they aren't all that great. When I was a kid, I played a lot of Mario 1 and Mario 3. I never liked Mario 2 that much. I just can't get into it. I loved Contra. I loved Punch-Out! The thing about Punch-Out! And Contra is very pattern-heavy games. Even though Contra is known to be very difficult, I never thought it was as a kid. We all had the 30 life code, but as a kid I could beat it within just a few lives. Can't do it now. I think the best I can do now is 6 lives. It's the best I've done as an adult, which I think is pretty decent. But that's the thing, it's got a lot of patterns. All the games had patterns, and I think that's why my friend Ace Salieri, that's why I think he can beat Ninja Gaiden, because he learned the patterns. And the games nowadays, they still have patterns in the games, but I think that they're able to, because of the hardware limitations that they don't have as much as they did back then, they can actually, add more routines into the characters. So the character may have more attacks and be able to adapt more to the player's own attacks. I know in some of these games I fight, the enemy will dodge out of the way and hit me, and I don't think that would have been possible back in the Nintendo days, because the Nintendo days, it was just simple. It was also 2D as opposed to the 3D environment. But and I don't know if I know that it seems like that if you take out the difficulty in old games, which was a lot of it wasn't fair difficulty. A lot of it was just the game just didn't work right, and it just didn't respond the way the player wanted to. Because the human brain moves way faster than old video game. Hell, it moves fast. My brain moves faster when I'm playing like Dark Souls. I'd want to do moves that I can't do because the game won't respond as fast as I'm hitting the controls. And that's where I have to back up and work at its speed. But, that's the thing. I think nowadays, I think the controls are tighter, and you're able to actually do what you make the character do what you want it to do. And I think a lot of the difficulty back then was that, we just didn't have it. And I think a lot of the other difficulty is they hadn't really figured out how to give proper clues to move on with the game. You had to, like I said, I use Zelda as an example because you had to randomly just figure stuff out. I think the same was with Castlevania 2. Even though I love Castlevania 2, but it's not because of the cryptic messages. Like everybody knows about the tornado, kneeling down in the corner with holding the right gem and all that stuff. I mean, that was bad. That was bad game design right there. But the game was badly designed. But it had a neat idea, a neat concept. Same thing with Zelda, badly designed, but it had a neat concept. This open world area where this kid's trying to save the day. And as they went on and did other games, it got better. I've never gotten into Zelda because of those old days, but I've been trying as I've gotten older, and I started playing a little bit of Ocarina of Time on the N64. As much as I hate the N64 controller, I actually was able, once I got used to the controls, I was able to actually play the game a little bit, and I actually did enjoy how it was designed. I thought it was designed so much better, with better clues, even though I still... I don't always get the clues they're giving me, but hey, that's okay. We can't get them all. So, and at the same time, we don't want to be told the answer either, because what's the point of having the clue? Just say, hey, go to level 2, Then you don't have to worry about figuring the game out. But, and that's the beauty of an RPG or in a semi-RPG as Zelda, or any adventure game, is you want to figure out what you're going to do. But yeah, and then you had, it seems like, but it seems like the difficulty now, it's like I had this, when I got back into gaming and I was getting a PS3, I told this younger guy I knew, he was like 18, I mentioned to him, I said, yeah, I'm going to get a PS3, and he says, oh man, that's going to be really hard for you. You're going to have such a hard time with the games. I was like, what do you mean? I said, the games nowadays are easy. He says, no, they're not. He says, the old games you grew up with are easy. I'm like, no, you don't understand. So I said, here, try Castlevania 1. He tried it and couldn't get past the first level, and he realized at that point, and this is a kid who had never played an old Nintendo. He never played anything classic. He says, wow, I guess you are going to get through games. He says, I said, well, how long, does a game usually take to get through? He says, well, your average game takes about 3 days. And I said, well, it took me 20 years to beat Castlevania 1. He's like, really? I said, yeah. It took me 20 years of trying and failing. And of course I hadn't played it in 15 years, but I didn't tell him that. But the thing is, the older games are not as easy sometimes, but newer games, I do think that some of the newer games, they're holding your hand too much. I was playing, what was I playing the other day that I got so pissed at it I couldn't play it? The Fable series. I put Fable 3 in, and I'm playing it, and it holds my hand through every step of the way, and I was getting so frustrated because I just wanted to play the game and figure things out. And it's got this little gold trail you're supposed to follow to go to the next point. And it's like, well, why even bother? Just put everybody in the same room and I'll go talk to each one and that'll be it. Why do I even need to walk over there? And I got so sick of it within the first 30 minutes to an hour, I turned it off, and I have no desire to ever play it again. And I was thinking, that's bad game design too. Why would you tell me exactly where to go? I get that, the thing like with Skyrim, you want to figure out where an area is because the world's so huge. They tell you where things are, but you got to kind of find it in there and figure out what it is, you're actually looking for. And I get that, and I'm fine with that. because the world's so big and things, but you know, you're talking about, but to actually have a little trail you have to follow, I mean, that's just asinine. That's too much. I mean, you know, holding my hand a little bit and guiding me is one thing, but sitting there just taking me to the potty so I can pee, and then they whip out and hold my dick for me on top of that, I mean, come on. Give me a fucking break. It should never be that easy. Because that's not playing a game, that's just interacting with a story. So, you know, I look at these things and I think to myself, you know, sometimes I go back to an older game, you know, because I love the PS1 era. I love the RPGs from the PS1. But sometimes I'll put in, you know, an action game of some kind and play it on the PS1. And even those games are a lot harder and more challenging than what they have now. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It's not that they're harder, they're just not as challenging now. Because, you know, we got to have the fair, you know, let's say everything's fair and it's just challenging and the game's tough. And we don't have enough of that now. And I think that's what draws me towards games like the Souls series. Because they are challenging. They're not really hard. And you get to where you play them like they're nothing. But as a new player going in, it was such an awesome experience. Every time, you know, I had my friend Freddie and Cody. They played Dark Souls 1 and they get past the first boss. And man, they're like, this is an awesome feeling. You know, to beat the Taurus demon. The second boss, actually, after the training boss. You know, and it's just so challenging to just do that. And it's funny, you know, I'm telling him now, I'm like, I go through it now and I beat him in like less than 30 seconds, and he's like, no big deal. But the first time I did it, it took me like 7 tries. But, you know, that's the thing, is it's like games nowadays. You know, I recently started playing Final Fantasy X and Dragon Quest VIII on the PS2. And even those games have more of a challenge, and there's not a whole lot of hand-holding. And Dragon Quest VIII, I went through and I found this one boss in this waterfall in the beginning of the game. I got killed. I had to go back and level up a little bit. And that's the kind of things I like to see. I don't think they when they make an RPG, that style of an RPG now, they make it so you can just go run through the game. And it's like, we don't grind as much anymore. But grinding was always a good thing, because it made you really appreciate the game more, I think. And it made you really work towards a lot of things. And I'm not saying NES grinding, because NES was too much. There's too much you can do. But I'm thinking PS1, PS2 grinding was really good. But, yeah, it's interesting. You know, you look at the differences in time, where we started to where we are now. And I hope, and everybody's talking about that Mario thing where you could just skip the level, and I'm like, why? That's crazy. Why? You know, why do we have to? You know, it's funny. I see the way my kids, my daughter plays and my girlfriend's daughter. They play a game. If it's too hard, they go to another game. When I was a kid, we didn't do that. We kept playing till we beat the damn thing. And where we would die trying over and over again. And I don't know, I think the attitude it goes with, I think, might even reflect society. You know, is that everybody's made to feel special and everybody's got to be a winner. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. As great as it makes the kid feel, I think losing makes them realize the reality of life. Because in real life, we don't win all the time. We lose more than we win, and when we do win, it actually means something. So, and I think I think they're teaching our kids that, you know, winning, everybody should win. Then, you know, when you do lose, I think it's going to hit them a lot harder. So, but anyway, I want to get your guys' thoughts, feelings, concerns, comments, blah-de-blah, all that stuff. You guys know the drill. And anyway, guys, thanks for listening to me talk, and I appreciate it. And so anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think. What's your take on it all? Anyway, this is Jason, and that's me. I'm Jason, and this is Video Game Corner, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye.